Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to try to help you nail that interview for Import-Export Manager in the textile machinery world.
It is a very specific niche.
It is, and that's why we're using RoleCatcher's awesome resources today, especially their career guide and interview questions. I mean, these are like cheat codes for your career.
I think of it like this RoleCatcher gives you that intel, and then what we're going to do today is help you apply it strategically to really stand out from the competition.
Yeah, and there will be competition because this field, according to the RoleCatcher Career Guide, is expected to grow.
That's right.
And that means a lot more job security for those who can really, nail this role.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the questions, the interview questions. First up from RoleCatcher is, can you walk me through your experience with import and export regulations? I'm already nervous.
I know, right? Seems daunting, but it's really your time to shine. So think about it like this. The interviewer wants to know that you've not just read about regulations, but you've actually dealt with them.
Okay.
Hands-on.
Yeah.
In the real world.
So prove it.
Prove it. Have you handled customs documentation? Have you dealt with shipment delays because of a regulation hurdle? Those are the stories that you're going to want to tell.
So it's not just about knowing the rule book.
Right.
It's about having played the game.
Yes, exactly. And if you have any certifications, like a certified international trade professional,
Oh, yeah?
mention that.
Throw that out there?
But don't just name drop it.
Right.
Explain how the experience that you have backs up that certification.
Like, I've got the knowledge, and here's how I've used it.
Exactly.
Speaking of real-world experience, the next question from RoleCatcher is all about risk. How do you manage risk in international trade? Because, let's be honest, things rarely go perfectly smoothly.
Absolutely. This is about being proactive. So think about what could go wrong. What are the potential risks specifically to the textile machinery world? For example, maybe there's a sudden increase in tariffs on specialized weaving looms from China.
Okay.
How would that impact your sourcing strategy? Or perhaps there's political instability in a key cotton-producing region.
Right.
What steps would you take to mitigate potential disruptions? They really want to see that you're thinking ahead.
Okay, so you got to be prepared for anything.
Absolutely.
It's not like ordering a pizza. Right?
Yeah.
International trade. There are a few more topics.
Got any more topics?
More moving parts, for sure.
Okay. Next up from RoleCatcher is a question that gets to the heart of deal-making.
Yes.
Describe your experience negotiating contracts with suppliers and customers. Ooh, I like this one.
This is where you showcase those negotiation skills, but with a twist.
Okay.
They want to see that you're not just a hard bargainer.
Right.
That you're also collaborative.
So think about a successful negotiation that you've had. Maybe you secured a favorable price for a piece of equipment, but you still maintain that good relationship with the supplier.
Right.
How did you find that sweet spot? What were the key terms that you focused on, like payment terms or quality standards?
So it's about finding that win-win solution.
Exactly.
It's not just about getting the best price for yourself,
right,
but making sure everybody feels good about the deal.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of staying ahead of the curve, RoleCatcher's next question asks, how do you stay current on developments in the global textile industry? Because things change so quickly.
Constantly.
What's hot today might be obsolete tomorrow. So how do you keep up?
So this is really your time to shine and to demonstrate your passion for this industry, your commitment to constantly learning. So what are you doing to stay up to date? Are you reading publications like Textile World? Are you attending trade shows like ITMA?
I love ITMA. It's a great show.
It is a great show.
Yeah, so share what you're doing to stay informed.
Yes.
It shows that you're invested in your professional growth and you're not going to fall behind.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about logistics. The backbone of import-export.
Yes.
RoleCatcher asks, how do you manage logistics and transportation for international shipments?
Okay.
Big question.
So this is all about process and problem solving.
Okay.
So walk them through how you approach coordinating shipments. For example, how do you determine the best shipping route? What factors do you consider when selecting carriers?
And what about unexpected challenges?
Yes.
Because let's face it, things happen.
All the time.
Storms, port strikes, heck, even a volcano could throw a wrench into your plans.
Absolutely.
So how have you dealt with that in the past?
Exactly. Share a story about a logistical nightmare and how you fixed it.
Yeah.
Maybe you had to find an alternate shipping route because of a typhoon.
Oh, gosh.
Or reroute a shipment because of a sudden port closure.
Yeah.
This shows you can think on your feet and keep those machines moving.
It's like playing 3D chess with giant pieces of machinery.
It is.
You got to be strategic
Absolutely.
and adaptable.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears to a more interpersonal question. Can you describe a time when you had to resolve a dispute with an international partner? Let's be honest, disagreements happen, especially when you're dealing with different cultures, different business practices.
For sure.
It's like that saying, lost in translation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things get misinterpreted,
Yes.
miscommunicated.
Of course.
How do you handle that?
So here they want to see your diplomacy skills,
Right.
your conflict resolution skills. Think of a time that you disagreed with a partner,
Okay.
maybe over a contract term or a delivery delay. How did you approach that? Were there cultural factors at play? Did you have to adjust your communication style to bridge the gap?
So it's not about winning or losing. It's about finding a solution that preserves the relationship.
Exactly.
Speaking of navigating cultural differences, I'm kind of curious, how does RoleCatcher's AI technology come into play here?
Oh, that's a great question. And it leads perfectly into what makes RoleCatcher so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Their AI can analyze your responses to these interview questions and give you feedback specific to the role
Wow.
and even to the company you're interviewing with.
So it's like having a personal interview coach, but powered by AI.
Exactly. You can practice your answers, record yourself, and get personalized feedback on everything from your content to your delivery.
So it's like having a secret weapon
That's
for
true.
interview prep.
Yes. Yeah, it's like having that extra set of eyes and ears to really help you hone in on what's going to resonate with that hiring manager.
That's really cool.
And it picks up on the nuances.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in an interview, it's not just about your expertise, it's how you present it, right?
Right.
The AI can even pick up on things like your tone of voice or even body language if you're recording yourself, which can make all the difference.
So it's like having a virtual mirror reflecting back, not just what you're saying,
Yeah.
but how you're coming across. I like that.
And speaking of making a positive impression, let's tackle this question from RoleCatcher. How do you ensure compliance with environmental and social responsibility standards in your supply chain?
This is huge, especially in the textile industry, which has had, has faced some scrutiny in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really about showcasing that you're aware of sustainability issues and that you are committed to doing things the right way. Are you familiar with standards like REACH, which regulates the use of chemicals, or the Global Organic Textile Standard, which focuses on organic fibers?
But it's not just about knowing the acronyms right.
Right.
You got to show that you've taken action.
Absolutely. So have you worked with suppliers to reduce their environmental footprint? Maybe you've encouraged using recycled materials or explored alternative dyeing techniques.
Right.
Share those initiatives. Show that you're not just following the rules, but actively trying to make a difference.
So walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Don't just talk the talk. Now, I'm curious about something. We've been talking about import-export regulations, but in the textile machinery world, are there any specific trade agreements or regulations that are, particularly important?
That is a great question. And yes, this industry is really shaped by trade agreements, both global and regional. You have, for example, the Agreement on Textiles and Clothing, ATC, which, although it's been phased out, still has implications for certain types of textile machinery.
Gotcha.
And then you have your regional agreements like NAFTA or the EU-South Korea Free Trade Agreement,
Right.
all of which can have an impact on tariffs and quotas.
So it's not just about knowing the general rules of import-export.
Right.
You need to understand how those specific trade agreements affect this particular sector.
Exactly. And keep in mind, things are constantly evolving.
Sure.
New agreements are always being negotiated.
Right.
So it's about staying up to date.
Speaking of staying updated, RoleCatcher's career guide mentions something kind of interesting. The rise of automation in the textile industry. How does that factor into the import-export of machinery?
Oh, that is a key trend to be aware of because as textile manufacturing becomes more automated,
Right.
the demand for really sophisticated machinery, things like robotic sewing systems or digital printing equipment, it's increasing.
Okay.
So what that means is that import-export managers need to be knowledgeable about these technologies and how to transport and install them properly.
So it's not just about moving boxes. It's about understanding what's inside those boxes.
The technology inside those boxes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And it's not just about the machinery itself, right? You've got to consider the software, the support systems that go along with it.
Okay, so it's very complex.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to another important question from RoleCatcher. How do you manage relationships with international partners and stakeholders? Because, in this role, you're basically a global ambassador, right?
I would say so, yeah.
So this question really highlights those soft skills, your cultural sensitivity, your communication skills. How do you navigate those sometimes choppy waters?
Think about a time when you successfully navigated a cross-cultural challenge.
Okay.
Maybe you had to adjust your communication style, be more direct or less direct, depending on the culture.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Or maybe you use your language skills to build a rapport with a partner.
Like, I imagine, negotiating a deal with a supplier in Italy might be quite different from working with a partner in China.
Completely different,
For
example.
different approaches, yeah.
So the key is not just to be aware of these differences, but to be able to adapt
Yes.
and communicate effectively
Exactly.
across those cultural boundaries.
Yeah, it's about building bridges, not walls.
Now let's talk about the practical side of things. RoleCatcher's Guide mentions a few key skills for this role, like understanding Incoterms. Can you explain what those are and why they're important? Okay, Incoterms, they sound very complex, but really they're just a set of international trade terms that define who's responsible for what
Gotcha.
in an international transaction. They cover things like who pays for shipping, insurance, customs duties.
Okay.
So for example, if you're shipping a piece of machinery under what's called the CIF Incoterm, CIF, it means that you, the seller, are responsible for the cost, the insurance, and the freight until the goods reach the port of destination.
So understanding these Incoterms is crucial for managing risk.
Absolutely.
And ensuring a smooth transaction.
Yes, it's like having a common language for international trade.
Right.
And choosing the wrong Incoterm can lead to some costly mistakes.
So it's not just about getting the machinery from point A to point B. It's about understanding who's responsible for what at every step of the way.
You got it.
Okay, so attention to detail is key here. Now I'm curious about something. We've been talking a lot about the technical aspects of the role, but what about the soft skills, the personality traits that make someone successful as an import-export manager? What are some of those?
That's a great point because while the technical knowledge is essential, the soft skills really set you apart. Being a strong communicator is essential, both written and verbal. You need to be able to clearly articulate your ideas, negotiate effectively, build relationships with people from all over the world.
It's like being a diplomat in the textile machinery world.
Yes, exactly.
You also need to be highly organized, detail-oriented, able to manage multiple projects all at the same time.
Yeah, and maybe most importantly, you need to be adaptable. And resilient, because as we've seen, things rarely go exactly according to plan.
Yeah, so this is not a job for the faint of heart.
No.
You got to be able to handle the pressure, think on your feet, be comfortable with ambiguity.
Absolutely, and that's where having the right tools, the right resources like RoleCatcher can really make all the difference, because even if you're a seasoned professional, there's always something new to learn, especially in such a dynamic field.
Now I'm curious, we've been focusing a lot on prepping for the interview, but what about after you land the job? Does RoleCatcher offer any resources for ongoing career development?
They do. They actually have a whole section of their career guide.
Wow.
That provides a roadmap for advancement.
Interesting.
It highlights potential career paths, the skills you need to develop, and even suggests professional organizations you could join and certifications you could pursue.
So it's not just about landing the job.
Right.
It's about having a plan for growth and success.
Exactly. And that's what makes RoleCatcher so valuable. It's not just a one-time tool. It's a partner in your whole career journey.
Okay, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something that's becoming increasingly important in every industry, really, and that's data analysis. How does that play a role in the import-export of textile machinery?
That's a great point, and data is becoming increasingly crucial in this field. Import-export managers are using data to track shipments, analyze trends, optimize logistics, and even forecast demand.
So it's not just about moving the machines. It's about understanding all that data.
The data behind it,
That drives those movements.
Exactly, and having some data analysis skills can really give you an edge. Being able to interpret the data, identify those patterns, and make those really informed decisions. It's a valuable asset.
It's like being a detective, but instead of solving crimes, You're solving
Mm-hmm.
supply chain puzzles.
Supply chain puzzles. I like that.
Okay, let's tackle one more question from RoleCatcher before we move on. This one is all about problem solving. Can you describe a time when you had to overcome a major challenge in an import-export project?
Oh, there are always challenges.
Because things don't always go smoothly.
They never go smoothly.
We've established that.
Yes, we have.
So how do you deal with it?
So this is your chance to really showcase your resilience, your ability to think outside the box.
Okay.
So think of a time when a project hit a snag.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a shipment was delayed.
Yep.
A key component was missing. A regulation changed unexpectedly.
Right.
How did you handle that? What steps did you take to get things back on track?
It's not just about identifying the problem.
Right.
It's about finding a solution, even if it means being a little creative.
You have to be.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to share the details.
Yeah.
What were those specific challenges?
Mhm.
What resources did you use?
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience?
Because those are the stories that are going to make you stand out
For sure.
and show that you're not just a manager, but a problem solver.
A problem solver, exactly. And that's what employers are looking for. Someone who can take on those challenges and succeed.
Yeah, I'm curious. We've been focusing a lot on, import-export of textile machinery.
Yeah.
But does RoleCatcher offer resources for other industries as well?
They do. Their platform covers a wide range of industries and job roles. Everything from finance and tech to healthcare and education.
So it's like a career Swiss Army knife.
It is.
It's got the tools you need for every stage of your journey.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I highly recommend checking out their platform,
Yeah.
whether you're prepping for an interview, exploring different career paths,
Right.
or just looking to boost your skills. RoleCatcher has something to offer.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, the importance of continuous learning.
Mm-hmm.
In this field, how can import-export managers stay ahead of the curve and keep those skills sharp?
That's a great question. The world of international trade is constantly changing. So ongoing learning is crucial. Attending industry conferences
Okay.
and trade shows is a great way to stay updated
Right.
and network with other professionals.
I bet there are a lot of resources online, too.
Tons of resources, online courses, webinars, podcasts like this one
Here you go.
that provide valuable insights. And don't forget about those professional organizations like the National Customs Brokers and Forwarders Association of America,
The NCBFAA.
NCBFAA, that's right,
Yeah.
or the International Trade Administration, the ITA,
Okay.
which offer training programs and certifications.
So it's really about taking a proactive approach to your professional development
Exactly.
and never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
Because in this field, knowledge is power.
It really is.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
but there's still more to explore.
Mm-hmm.
In the final part, we're going to take a closer look at how RoleCatcher's AI can help you fine-tune those interview skills. And we'll touch on some alternative job titles that you might be interested in.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned. And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into acing that import-export manager interview.
We're ready to bring it home.
Using those awesome RoleCatcher resources, we've covered a lot of ground. From those tricky regulations
Yeah,
to managing risk, those all-important soft skills.
absolutely.
But now, let's talk about how to really polish that performance. That's where RoleCatcher's AI can really help, right?
Absolutely. Remember that interview practice feature we talked about?
Oh, yeah. It's like having a personal AI coach in your pocket.
Exactly. It analyzes your responses, gives you feedback,
The whole 9 yards.
the whole 9 yards. But here's what's really neat about it.
Yeah.
It tailors that feedback to the specific job that you're applying for.
So it's not generic advice.
Yeah.
It's custom fit to the role, the company.
Exactly. So let's say you're interviewing with a company that's, really big on sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
The AI is going to pick up on that and suggest ways that you can highlight your experience with, ethical sourcing or eco-friendly practices.
So it's like having that, secret weapon that helps you connect all the dots between your skills and what the employer is looking for.
You got it. And it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Mm.
The AI can analyze your tone of voice, your pacing,
Okay.
even your body language.
Really? That's
Or
inclusive.
you're recording yourself.
Right. Okay.
It's like having a virtual mirror that shows you how you're coming across to the interviewer.
That is really, really cool. It's like having a stylist, but for your interview skills.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's about presenting the best version of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Both content and delivery.
Okay, before we let our listeners go out there and conquer that interview, I want to touch on one more thing that RoleCatcher offers, and that's those alternative job titles.
Oh, that's a great point, because sometimes that perfect job might have a slightly different name.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Than what you're looking for.
So it's about thinking outside the box,
Exactly.
not limiting yourself to just import-export manager.
You got it. So RoleCatcher suggests some interesting alternatives, like distribution manager for textiles.
Nice.
Or how about this one? Textile, semi-finished, and raw materials.
That's a mouthful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But it really highlights that connection between import-export and that whole supply chain.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one is logistics and distribution manager,
Okay.
which again makes sense with all that machinery.
Right, right.
And then, if you're looking for something a little more niche, there's finished leather warehouse manager.
Okay.
I mean, it's a specific role, but it shows how those import-export skills can be applied in different areas.
So the point is, be open-minded.
Yes,
Explore those related roles that could use your expertise.
absolutely.
Well, I think we've thrown a lot of information out there today.
We have. It's been a true deep dive.
Yeah. It has been a deep dive, but hopefully you're feeling more prepared, more confident about that interview.
I hope so, too.
And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way.
Absolutely.
From writing that amazing resume
Mm-hmm.
to practicing your answers
Yeah.
to discovering those new career paths.
It's a fantastic resource.
It's like having a career concierge at your fingertips.
It really is.
So go out there, ace that interview. We believe in you.
We do.
And remember, the world of import-export is just full of possibilities.
It is.
It's a dynamic field. It's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be so rewarding.
Absolutely.
And with the right tools and the right resources like RoleCatcher, you can navigate those challenges and achieve all your career goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's all for this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing yourselves to grow.
We'll be here to help you along the way.